Welcome to MathLink Academy. In this lesson, we're going to be covering multiplying and dividing compound numbers. Again, I am Mr. C, and I'll be covering this unit for you. So let's get started. So multiplying compound numbers. First thing, we multiply each unit by the multiplier. And if necessary, simplify each product. And I will show you that. And then we're going to add the unit of each product together and always simplify our answer. So let's look at an example of what we're talking about. So let's say we have a plumber cuts 5 pieces of copper tubing. Each piece is 8 feet, 9 3/4 inches long. Determine the total length of the tubing required. So if you read this particular problem, what we need to do, we need to multiply that 8 feet, 9 3/4 inches. We're going to multiply 5 into each of those units, and then we're going to simplify our answer. So let's look on our whiteboard how to do this particular problem. So this is our problem, how we're going to set it up. We're going to multiply that 5 to each of those units. Now, there's many different ways to do this when we multiply. For this particular problem, since I have a fraction with my inches, again, we have a mixed number. You probably know what I'm going to do. I'm going to convert that mixed number into an improper fraction, and then from there, convert it back to a mixed number and see if we need to carry those inches into the feet. So let's do this particular one. So this would be 8 feet, and then this 9 3/4, 9 times 3 is 36, so this would be 39 over 4 inches times 5. So what you do, you multiply that 5 into each of those units. So to multiply into the fraction, let's do that into the fraction piece. It's really like 5 over 1. We've done this in our past units when we multiply fractions. I believe it's going to give us like 195. So let me write that down. I'm going to write it on the bottom, 195 over 4. And this is our inches. And then we do 8 times 5. This gives us 40. So that 40 is 40 feet. Now again, now we want to convert that improper fraction into a mixed number. So 195 divided by 4. In this case, let's write this down. This gives us 40 feet. And when we do the division, if I'm not mistaken, that it gives me 48 and I think about 3/4 inches with remainder 3. And so that means we put 3 over 4. So again, you can do that on your own. And this is how we write that as a mixed number. Now notice that 48 3/4 inches is pretty large. We actually can simplify that because we know there's a relationship between inches and feet. Tell me that relationship. Say it out loud. 12 inches equals 1 foot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide 12 into that 48 and see how we can get our answer, final answer. So notice what I'm going to write. I'm going to do this in green. So we have, for the blue, I'm going to put down the 40 feet, but in green, I'm going to convert this. So again, 12 goes into, why we're using 12? 12 inches, 1 foot. 12 goes into 48 evenly 4 times. So that's 4 feet. And then the 3/4 inches still remains. So that's under the 48 and 3/4 inches. Now what I'm going to do, and that's why it's good to write your units, I'm going to add these together. I'm going to write it over here so we have a little more room and give us an answer and write it in black. This gives me 44, if you agree with me, 44, because I'm adding these two, because those are the units, 44 feet and 3/4 inches. And that is my answer for this particular problem. Now, let's look at a division problem. We could it's a little different. And so let's make sure we do this one. So we're going to divide compound numbers. Divide each unit by divisor starting at left. If a unit is not exactly a divisor or dividing into, we want to express the remainder as the next smaller unit and add to the given number of the smaller unit. Continue the process until all units are divided. It is very important which direction you go for division. For multiplication, we started from the lower unit and express it to the bigger unit. So let's look at a problem with division and how we do division, which is a little bit different. And so this is our example. The 4 holes in the I-beam, and that's an I-beam, shows below are equally spaced. So they're equally spaced. The 4 holes are equally spaced. 1, 2, 3, 4, you see there. It says determine the distance between the 2 consecutive holes. So we want to figure out the distance between these consecutive holes here. And so they're going to be equally spaced. So let's figure out the distance. So let's look here. Right here, here's the distance, 1, 2, and 3. So we want to figure out they're all going to be equally spaced, and they give us that from the middle of the first hole and the middle of the last hole, it's 23 feet, 7 inches. Now, what people normally would do is maybe divide that by 4, that 23 feet and 7 inches by 4, but we won't do that. That's how many holes there are. We want to figure out the equal space between each of those. So look how many lines I have in red. So we won't use 4, we'll use 3. So make sure we understand that before we do the problem, and then I show you how to divide these compound numbers. So here's our problem, and notice how I've written it. I wrote down 23 feet, 7 inches. I believe that's the number we're working with, divided by 3. Remember, we're dividing by 3. Go back to the drawing to know that what number we're dividing by. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to start with the higher unit. We're going to start here. We're going to divide 3 into 23. We're going to start with the higher unit, the feet, and then the remainders are going to go to the lower units. So in this case, how many times 3 goes into 23? And I'm going to do it in green so you see the work involved here. So for this piece, 3 goes into 23. We say, in our case, we know 7 times 3 is 21. And that gives us 7 feet with a remainder of 2 feet because we're still in feet. And then we have our 7 inches here. So right now what I'm going to do, I'm going to write down, leave it in green, we have our 7 feet. And this remainder here, this piece here, we're going to add to the inches. So we need to know how to convert 2 feet into inches. We know that 12 inches equals 1 foot. So 12 times 2, and notice how I'm going to write this. This gives me 24 inches. I'm going to add that to the 7 inches. So we have the 7 feet. And in this case, we have 31 inches. Now remember, we're still dividing. So now over here in the green, I'm going to write this in the green. This 31 needs to be divided by 3. So this is 31 inches. And now we got to divide that by 3 because that's our original problem. So this one is okay. Our feet's okay. Now we're in the inches. So how many times the 3? In this case, this will give me 10 feet, or excuse me, 10 inches, 10 1/3 inches. And 10 1/3 inches cannot be, in our case, simplified. We like that. It's less than 12, so we're good. So when we get our final answer, we're going to convert the feet. This is circle here. I kept bringing that down, that's 7. and this would be our inches. So our final answer, as we combined it, would be 7 feet, 10 1/3 inches. And that would be our answer, and therefore I will circle that. Again, let me express this. You first start with the higher unit or the upper unit. That means we're going to start from our left, 3 divided into 23. Figure that out. The remainder will go to the other unit, the next unit over to the right. Make sure you convert it correctly, and then do the operation, which is division. We're going to divide that number by 3. And then we'll write it down and then combine our units to make sure we get the correct units writtenly. So let's look at one more problem for division. Our last problem, 17 yards, 13, and I'm going to 13 feet and 4 1/4 inches. So let's divide that by 2. So in this case, we start here. Again, start from the left with division for this particular problem. How many times do 17 is divided by 2? And that gives me, we say 8, because 8 times 2 is 16 with the remainder of 1. So we have 8 yards. And then we have 1 yard remaining. That's our remainder. Notice I'm writing that in blue. Right now, write down 13 feet, 1 1/4 inches, and notice a different color change. Now I'm going to put this 1 yard into feet and then divide that by 2. And the remainder of that will go into the inches and then divide that by 2. So my 8 is good, 8 yards. So let's convert that. We know that 3 feet equals 1 yard. So in this case, look at this, guys. I'm going to keep this, write this in blue, write this in blue. This will give me 3 feet equals 1 yard. So 3 plus 13 is 16. And then we have our 1/4. Now what we're going to do is divide the 2 into the feet. So 2 goes into 16 evenly 8 times. So in this case, we have 8 yards, which is okay. I'm going to underline that in orange. We have, and notice that 2, where that divided by 2 came from the original part of the problem up here. That gives me 8 feet. Now we're going to look at, and that's okay. We have no remainder. Now we're going to divide 2 in that 1/4. And so we're going to look at that last piece. So I'm going to underline this. This is okay. Now the last piece is going to be this 1/4. So, 1/4, excuse me, let me write down 4. 1/4 divided by 2. And it's like a mixed number, or I'll say like a complex fraction. Another way we can look at that is actually multiplying by 1/2. And so as 2 goes into that, this gives me 1/8. So half of 1/4 is 1/8. And again, these are inches. And that's my answer right there. So what is my answer? My answer will be, let's write it down, guys. 8 yards, 8 feet, and 1/8 inch. And that's my final answer. Where I get 1/8, I divided 1/4 by 2. Don't forget, we're dividing each of the units. Start from the left, go to the right. So I hope this unit helped. And again, go ahead and review it if you want to understand it more. Look at the video again. And also go to our website, our MathLink website, to get some more supplementary materials for this particular subject matter. Again, let MathLink bring it together. That's what we're about.